thing that I want to point out to you, because a lot of people make the assumption that if you go to the strip club, that automatically means that you're cheating or you're going to cheat. Okay, so skirt, pause, let's hit the brakes on that. I want to tell you real quick, and I just did a live on this the other day, but some of the primary reasons why people cheat are falling out of love, for variety, feeling neglected, situational forces, to boost self esteem, out of anger, not feeling committed, and because of sexual desire. But why can't people go to the strip club to see exotic female dancers or exotic male dancers just because that's their recreational choice? So, my husband tells me all the time that I'm different. He was like, "You think different, you act different. I think like part of your brain is man brain." He always tells me that in my former life, he is convinced that I was a man because I think what he's really trying to tell me is my thinking is jacked up, but that's a whole nother live. But here's the deal. Let's talk about the why. Why do people go to see exotic dancers, whether they be male or female? It could be for fun. It could be because of boredom. It could be because of lack of fulfillment. It could be for recreational purposes only. One of the things that I have said is that's not something that's been an issue for me. I don't, it's not something that's present in my relationship now, so we don't even have that conversation because it's not something that my husband has expressed interest in doing. Um, if he did, if we were in that place and space in our life and that's where he wanted to go and that's what he wanted to do, I know this might come as a shock to some people, but I'm okay with that. Why am I okay with that? Because it doesn't pose a threat to me. And that was why I titled tonight's live what it was. Relationships in a strip club. Is the strip club a threat to you? And what I really want you to think about is if this is something that poses a threat for you in your relationship, just like anything else, you have to ask yourself why. Why is this bothering me so much? Why do I want to go? If you're the man who wants to go, if you're the woman who wants to go, what is it that going will accomplish for you? What purpose is it going to serve? What are you going to get out of it? And whatever it is that it's giving you, or whatever your experience is connected to it, even if it is just a recreational outlet, you should be able to communicate that without hesitation or reservation. Because if you can't, it sounds a little suspect, or it may look a little questionable to your partner. So you want to be able to openly and honestly discuss the why you want to go and the why you don't want your partner to go. And you've heard me say time and time again, in order to have healthy conversations about the elephants in the room, about the hard stuff, you have to be able to create an emotionally safe space to do that, right? So people say, well, Dr. Pitts, my husband's going out with the guys, or he's taking a trip with the guys, and they're going, it's a bachelor party or it's a bachelor trip, and I know that they're going to do this and I'm really concerned about it. Why are you concerned about it? Is there a trust issue in your relationship? Because if the underlying issue is trust, then the issue at hand isn't really the strip club. The strip club is the smoke and the mirrors, or the camouflage that's sort of covering up the underlying issue. And the underlying issue at the root of your concern is, I don't trust him out of my sight. I don't trust him down the street and around the corner. Or I don't trust her. Okay, so now we got to peel back the layers on that. Why? And how has the fact that you don't trust your partner been addressed? Because if you allow the smoke and the mirrors of these seemingly superficial issues sort of overshadow what the root of the problem is, the real issue, then you're going to continue to have problems. It won't be the strip club. Next time it'll be, oh, well, I don't want him to hang out with such and such friend because such and such friend is a dog and always cheating on his partner. Or I don't want her to go out with her girlfriends because such and such a friend is always laying with somebody else's man. You have to be able to peel back the layers and really get clarity on, is the real issue that your partner is going to the strip club? Is the real issue that your partner wants to see exotic dancers, or is it something deeper? And of course, I can't say for sure because every situation is going to be unique in and of itself, but my clinical brain says chances are there's a much deeper issue, and you're going to want to be able to put your finger on the pulse of that much deeper issue in order to be able to get resolve in your relationship. You have to ask yourself, am I upset? And let me preface it by saying this. I keep it real with y'all. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I'm not trying to offend or in any way be anything but helpful to people in their ability to have these hard conversations. So when you're doing that self-exploration and you're trying to figure out, why am I so upset about this? Are you upset because you're insecure? Are you upset because there's a history of infidelity? Are you upset because, truth be told, you have abandonment issues? You have fear of rejection? Ouch, but are you that person that entered the relationship on some grimy pretenses and you're now concerned about whether or not he or she is going to do to you what you did to get him? These are the hard things that you have to look at and that you have to explore. But you have to get to the root of why this is a problem for you. And let me just tell you, and I know this might sound strange, but my responsibility as a clinician is to stay neutral. My responsibility as a clinician is to present you with information, to provoke your thoughts so that you hopefully we will be open to considering other viewpoints beyond your own, because we can all take a stand and say, well, I'm right, or you're wrong, you're wrong. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to take into consideration that you're not in a relationship with you. You're in a relationship with a unique individual who came into this relationship with their own beliefs and values and ideas and habits and the whole nine yards. And I'm just coming from grabbing a bite to eat with some family members, and one of the things that my cousin asked me is, she said, well, what if, you're married and this issue never came up prior to getting married? How do you handle that? And I said, well, it's just like anything else. You have to have that elephant in the room conversation. You have to be willing, responsibly, calmly, maturely, and rationally, you have to be willing to have a conversation with each other and to openly convey why you feel so strongly about it, one way or the other, whether it's why I want to go or why I think you shouldn't go. You need to be able to have those conversations. And again, you hear me say this pretty frequently. You have to be willing to meet each other in a place of common humanity with an open mind and an open heart. In other words, take the other person's feelings into consideration. Put the shoe on the other foot. One of the things that I see time and time again, particularly when I'm working with couples, is there's a lot of double standards that are going on. There's a lot of, in essence, do as I say, not as I do. There's a lot of, there's an old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Well, there's a lot of double standards that I see with the couples that I work with and the couples that I hear about from the couples that I work with. And there's going to have to come a point in time where you have to get honest with yourself about why you feel the way you feel about this issue. You have to be honest with yourself about why you want to participate in this recreational activity, we'll call it for now, that is creating problems in your relationship. So I want to touch on for a minute just the pros and the cons. And you're like, Dr. Pitts, how on earth can there be pros to going to the strip club? It all depends on who you are. It all depends on what you value. There are people who, and I shared in the original post that I put up, there's couples that go to the clubs together. They go to see the dancers together. It keeps their relationship spicy. In their opinion, it adds value to their relationship. In their opinion, it keeps the spark in their relationship. Think about it this way, and I'm sure that many of you that are tuned in are familiar with this. Some of you might not be, but I'm getting ready to let the cat out bag. You do know that there are organizations all over, particularly in major cities, that teach pole dancing. Hello? Yeah. You have women that will have, bachelorette parties or bridal parties or whatever the case may be, or birthday parties or just girls' night out parties, and they'll go to the spot and learn how to pole dance. Why? Because they're going to do it for their partner. So there's a variety of reasons why people may choose to go to the strip club. I think that you're doing yourself a relational disservice if you're not willing to have a calm, rational conversation about it. So, again, from the pros perspective, it can add spice to your relationship. It can break the monotony of same old crackers every day. It can just break the monotony of being homebodies, whether you go together or you go individually or whatever the case may be. The cons are going to be, again, relationship specific, because what bothers you might not bother me. And I think that you're doing yourself, again, a disservice if you're not honest with yourself and your partner about why you see going to the strip club as a con. Is it an infidelity concern? Is it a trust concern? Is it based upon insecurity? Is it a financial? Because there's folk that drop some serious paper at these strip clubs. And again, it's not just men. Women go and put dollars in the G-string too. Dollars, $5, $10, $20. Women pay for lap dances too. So let's not be biased and make this all about it being a man issue. Both sexes, for a variety of reasons, can find themselves in these adult clubs looking for this type of interaction. So whether or not it's a pro or a con is going to be specific to your relationship. You have to be willing to have that conversation. And you can't have that conversation effectively if you don't pause and think about it. I think one of the mistakes that people make too oftentimes in their relationships is they keep stuff superficial. Because why are you making such a big deal out of it? It's not about nothing. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. Well, if you're catching feelings to the point that it's creating arguments and folks shutting down and not talking and not speaking and using sex as a weapon and you ain't getting none and all that this other stuff, it's a problem. So you have to be willing to have the conversation, and you got to be honest with yourself. First and foremost, you have to be honest with yourself. When my husband and I had the conversation and he expressed to me that that's not something that he's interested in, and I told him, excuse me, I told him why I believe some people find themselves in the strip clubs, and I explained to him when I used to go see male dancers why I went. It was never about hooking up with one of the dancers. It was never about like the fantasy or anything else. It's like back then when I was going to see the male strippers, I was still drinking. I was still doing everything that I was big and bad enough to do. I liked to go. It was fun. Me and my girls would go. We would hang out, and then I would leave and go do whatever it is that I was going to do with whoever it was I was with. And no, I was not fantasizing about the person that I had just seen up on stage. Here's the thing. That was a question that my husband felt safe enough to ask me. I didn't get defensive. I didn't go all crazy and act a fool. I answered the question honestly. Fantasize for what? It was a recreational outlet for me. Stressful job back then. You know what? I'm gonna go out with my girls. I'm gonna have a couple of drinks. We're gonna cut a fool, have a good time. Everybody's going home to their respective partners. Night over. Cool. I can't speak for what anybody else said or did, whoever it was they were dealing with, but for me, I didn't need to fantasize. The person that I was in a relationship with at the time was cool. I was good. So for you, you need to be able to get that clarity, and you're going to need to be able to be honest. What's going to be beneficial for you when it comes to this topic is if you didn't have the conversation prior to committing to the person that you're with, whether it's committed to dating, committed to living together, committed to being engaged, committed to getting married, whatever your relationship status is, it is extremely important, in my professional opinion, it is extremely important that you have the conversation. It's one thing if it's never been expressed to you that either of you as a partner is interested, then this conversation is not for you or about you. But for those of you that, you know what, a bachelor party may come up, a bachelorette party may come up, a birthday party may come up, a girls trip may come up, a guys trip may come up. And oh, by the way, this gets factored into the itinerary. You want to have the conversation proactively rather than after the fact and catching feelings and the whole 9 yards, because you're going to need to be able to put clear expectations in place regarding this, and you're going to want to be able to establish firm boundaries regarding this topic. Because if you don't, just like everything else that you refuse to address and act like it's going to miraculously go away, it's going to come up and it's going to bite you in the butt. So let's talk about the expectations and the boundaries. They're going to be relationship specific, but I'm going to put some out there for you to think about, right? What I say to folks is this, and I'm going to attribute this to the amazing parents that I have, Paulette and George, who raised us to do what you say and say what you mean, or something like that, right? Mean what you say and say what you mean. You know what I'm getting at. But here's the thing. If you don't want somebody rubbing all over me and sweating all over me and touching all over me, that should be a boundary that you honor as well. We were, like I said, we were out a few moments ago and we were having a conversation, and I was saying, one of the problems that arise when it comes to these double standards, and y'all gonna hear me say this, this is Lauren's code of honor, Dr. Pitts' code of honor. Like, I live and breathe this rule. Don't ever do something to me that you can't handle it if I do it back to you. And I believe that that is one of the major problems in relationships, is that people navigate their relationships with these double standards, and folk are out here saying and doing all type of stuff. And then when the script gets flipped, or as somebody said a few weeks ago, when the rabbit has the gun, it's not fun anymore. If you don't want your partner in the club with Big Willie style, all rubbing it all over her and picking her up and bouncing and doing all the stuff and all the things, keep Brandy out your lap doing a lap dance, and keep your hands off of her person and outside of her body. How about that? I know that was grown folk conversation, wasn't it? I ain't even sorry, because it needed to be said. The double standards are going to jam you up. You have to get the expectations and the boundaries in place around this topic for those of you that are still navigating this terrain, because if you don't, it is going to blow up in your face. And here's the sidebar. Ultimatums don't work. Ultimatums don't work. They've never worked. I'm going to roll the dice and say they'll never work. So giving ultimatums, screaming, yelling, hooping, hollering, cussing and fussing and acting a fool, you better not go, and if you go, this, that, and the third, that mess don't work. That don't work. So you have to be able to have a rational conversation and clarify your expectations. And this is what I say to folks. This is old school. This Dorothy Pitts was my grandma. This Dorothy Pitts. You better learn how to treat people the way you want to be treated. And what do I mean by that? So you go to the club. You could be either, it doesn't matter. You could be the man, don't matter that. You go to the club. You go on to see the dancers. Everything is cool. Are you safe if your partner walks in that door? Are you safe? Are you good? Look, let me put it in real time. Are you going to make it out of the strip club alive if your partner walks in and sees you having a good time? Things that make you go, And if the answer to that question is the club about to get turned out because of what you doing, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? What that tells me clinically is you in my diagnostic and statistical manual with impulsive disorder. You got impulse issues. You don't know how to control yourself. Because, baby, if you can't do it in front of me, you shouldn't be doing it when you're away from me. And that goes both ways. Because it'll jam you up and it'll get you in trouble. One of the things that we were talking about while we were out is that this is a different day. Folk checking phones, got low jacks on cars, checking, people hacking your social media accounts and the whole 9 yards. People like to think that women are private investigators. Men are too. Don't be fooled. Anybody can find out anything if they try hard enough. So you better be asking yourself, if your partner roll up on you, are you going to survive the night? Or will you survive the night and all your stuff going to be on the lawn when you get home and you got to go find old girl or old boy that gave you the lap dance? I'm just saying. Have clear conversations about those expectations and put those firm boundaries in place without giving ultimatums. We all have choices. I believe that just like we allow our children to live with their choices, I believe adults have to live with their choices. So if you want to get you your lap dance from whoever it is you're getting it from and you get caught, or because social media is the enemy sometimes, it get put up on social media because somebody doing a live from the club. Oh my gosh, that's Hakeem. Who is that in Hakeem's lap? Oh my gosh, that's Shaniqua. Who is that swinging in Shaniqua's face? What? How you gonna explain that? Is it, hey, wasn't me? No. That was totally you. That's exactly what you had on when you left here. That's you. I ain't screaming, yelling, hooping, hollering, cussing, fussing. I ain't turning the club out. I ain't slashing your tires. I ain't busting in your face. I ain't doing none of that. I'm going to let you live with your choices. And I'm going to tell you with the utmost respect, some of you have a very hard time allowing your partner to live with their choices because you're terrified of being by yourself, because you have issues with abandonment and rejection. I am not suggesting for a moment that this should be grounds for an exit strategy. What I am saying is each of us teaches other people how to treat us. I've said to you time and time again, my marriage is healthy. I go through stuff. One of the things that I do appreciate about my spouse, and I hope that you all can appreciate about your partner or your spouse, is that I can, whether I'm frustrated or happy or sad, whatever the case may be, I can express what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling to him in a way that he receives. And even though some of the conversations that we have are very, very hard conversations to have, we do it in a way that even though it might be ouch, we still listen attentively to each other. And that's what I am saying to you. Do you have your spouse's ear? Are you speaking in such a way that your spouse or your partner wants to listen? And are you listening so that your partner or spouse wants to speak? Because if you don't have your partner's ear, it is going to be very hard to have those appropriate conversations regarding the expectations and the boundaries that are going to influence and inform the choices that they make. There's going to come a point in time where if your relationship is going to be healthy and sustainable, whether going to the strip club is acceptable or not, you have to be able to have that healthy exchange. You have to be able to be willing, good, bad, or indifferent, to communicate in such a way that lets your partner or your spouse know, I'm going to let you live with your choices. And if you continue to make choices that are not in the best interest of the relationship, then just like anything else in life, there's consequences. And one of the consequences may have to be you're no longer in this relationship. So that's going to be relationship specific for each of you. So I'm not going to go into grave detail on the jealousy piece, because if you want to know more about jealousy, you're going to have to register to come to my boot camp that's being held July 22nd and 23rd. Actually, it's going to be held the third week of every month. But when we talk about choices, I want to talk about the choices from both sides of the coin. The choice that you make if you're the person in the relationship that is going to the strip club, even if your partner has communicated that they really don't want you to do that. And then the choices that you make in response to your partner going to the strip club after you've conveyed that you don't want them to go. One of the major issues that comes up is the jealousy piece. And what I say to folks is, that's self-work. That's self-work that needs to be done. This might sound stupid to you all, and maybe you agree with my husband and you think that my thinking is weird, or that I don't know what it is. But my brain, both my personal brain and my clinical brain, says if you're in a relationship with me, you picked me. I didn't, in some cases, I'm talking about the cases where the person, you weren't in hot pursuit and determined you were going to have them, or whatever the case may be, because that's a whole different life. But someone approached you, expressed interest in you, you felt a mutual connection, the feelings were reciprocated. Now you're in a relationship, regardless of what that relationship dynamic is. And now jealousy is through the roof. And particularly, you're jealous because your partner or your spouse wants to go to the strip club. You're jealous because your partner or your spouse wants to go to the bachelor party or the bachelorette party or the birthday party or whatever the case may be. And you have to ask yourself, why am I having such a hard time with this? And this is what I want you to think about. How strong are the emotions that you're feeling connected to your partner planning to go to the strip club? you have to be honest enough with yourself to identify what those internal narratives are. What do I mean by your internal narratives? What are you saying? Are you saying to yourself that you're afraid he gonna hook up with somebody at the club? Are you afraid that he's gonna get numbers, or she's gonna get numbers, or she's gonna hook up with somebody? Are you afraid? Don't shoot me. Are you afraid that because the dancers may appear to be in greater physical shape than you are, and you have body image issues, and body image issues is for men and women, by the way, because you have body image issues, you're feeling a way about your partner going to the strip club? You got to get real with yourself about that. You have to be able to get to the root of what's fueling that jealousy. And like I said, you can learn more about jealousy. You can register for the boot camp to find more. You can go to Dr. Pitt's relationshipsfix.com and download the guide that I give you on how to address jealousy and figure out if you have an issue with jealousy, because it can definitely be problematic in the relationship. But what about those of you who are going to the strip club, whether you be male or female, for sexual encounters, for fulfillment of fantasy, or because intimacy is lacking in your relationship? That's something that you have to address too. And I know, my clients tell me all the time, they're like, Dr. Pitts, you make everything sound so easy. It's never my intention to make things sound easy. In actuality, this is a hard topic, and it's a very sensitive topic, and the decisions that need to be made and the conversations that need to be had regarding this topic are very, very difficult. So when you're thinking about the essence of the emotional experience connected to the strip club perhaps being an element in your relationship, you have to be able to identify your values, your beliefs, and your authentic feelings. Remember, I said a few minutes ago that I believe one of the issues that we have in our relationships is there's too much superficial going on. We have too much surface level conversation, too much safe conversation, too much placating going on in our discussions, and we're not being as authentic as we should be when we have these elephant in the room conversations. And this topic in particular is definitely one that's going to bring up some raw emotion. But is that raw emotion because you have a value system regarding this? It could be spiritual for you, right? It's against your spiritual beliefs, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's emotional cheating. It's psychological cheating. You got to get real about those things, and you can't do that screaming, yelling, hooping, hollering off the cuff. You got to be able to sit with yourself. You have to be able to sit with yourself and be real with you about, you know what, this is just wrong. I believe that this is wrong because I believe that it's Pandora's box. It's going to open the door for A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I believe that it's wrong because it's going to erode the family system. It's against my values as it relates to marriage or committed relationships. I feel so strongly about this because my dad spent a lot of time in the strip club, and it ruined him and my mom's relationship. You got to be honest, folks. You can't just scream, yell, hoop, holler, cuss, and fuss about and make these demands and give these ultimatums about why you don't want this to happen without being clear on your rationale behind it. What, if anything, do you all agree on concerning this topic? Do you agree that, okay, I don't want you to go to the strip club for a regular recreational outlet, but because you're the best man in your brother's wedding and his bachelor party is, or one of your boys or your frat brother or whoever, and the bachelor party is at the strip club, you're going to make an exception. You have to be able to clarify what you agree upon as it relates to this topic. And the agreement might be, under no circumstances should either of you ever be in a strip club. And oh, by the way, do you have the flexibility to be able to honor that? Because you know what'll happen. If you say yeah, 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 and then word in the street gets out that you were at the strip club, now we got a problem. Because now trust is further eroded. You're lying. What else you doing? Old school folks used to say, if you lie to me, you'll cheat me. If you lie and cheat, you'll steal. If you lie, cheat, and steal, you'll hurt me. Some people live by that code. So you got to be careful what doors you're opening up. What are the goals that you have for the relationship? Well, Dr. Pitts, what does goals have to do with the strip club? It has everything to do with the strip club. Because remember, I said people go for all types of reasons. So to circle back to some of the reasons why people cheat. So one of the reasons that statistics show us that people cheat is variety. One of the reasons that people cheat is because of sexual desire. One of the reasons that people cheat is because they're feeling neglected in their relationships. And let's not pretend that women are the only ones that look for love in all the wrong places. That is humanity. People from all walks of life, all ages, all socioeconomic status, all races, the whole nine, can find themselves looking for love in all the wrong places. Why y'all think these dating apps are so popular? People want companionship. They want connection. Some people just want to hook up, but people genuinely and sincerely don't want to be alone. So you got to look at what perhaps are some things that are going on at home in the relationship that may be influencing your partner's decision to frequent the strip club. And if you can't have a calm, rational conversation about that, guess what? Your partner keep going to the strip club. You keep getting mad, screaming, yelling, hooping, hollering, cussing, and fussing. It's a vicious cycle that continues to morph out of control. And you've got this persistent core negative interaction pattern between y'all. But what's the technical definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. If the goal for the relationship, for example, is that we are going to strengthen intimacy, then you need to be able to have a conversation about what that looks like to each of you. If one of the reasons for having that conversation is to be able to remove the need or the desire for going to the strip club out of the equation. Is the goal to stop neglecting each other? So you're not looking for that attention. You're not looking for that ego stroke or that self-esteem boost. You're not going to the club to see if you still got it. If the goal is to increase connection and stop neglecting each other, you need to be able to communicate that in a healthy way. If the goal is to bring the spark back into your relationship, but one of you doesn't feel comfortable with the strip club being a part of that equation, then what are some other things that you can do? You know what? Google is your friend. Google is your friend, and adult novelty stores are your friend. If you don't want the strip club to be part of the equation in your relationship, and your partner conveys to you that the reason why they go is because they feel like the relationship is just dead from a physical intimacy perspective, you Google everything else. Be deliberate and intentional in finding ways to spice it up, to add variety. And here's the thing: you got to be able to have the conversation around expectations and boundaries when it comes to variety too, because I'm telling you, if you open Pandora's box, Houston, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a problem. That box can be really difficult to close once you open it. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. It reminds me of a situation that I had heard many years ago, about someone that wanted to spice up their love life, and they invited a third party. Well, the partner ended up leaving them for the third party. Duh. You got to be careful with that type of stuff. Everything is not for everybody, and everything doesn't go. So you got to be able to be clear on what you can and cannot accept, and what you're comfortable with. What are your feelings that you all have in common about this? Here's the best way that I can clarify this. One of you wants to go to the strip club, and the other one is saying that I'm uncomfortable with this. And the one that's uncomfortable says, the reason why I don't want to go is because I think that it opens up the door for A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and we're already having challenges in our relationship, and I just feel like, it's going to end up causing us more harm than good. And the person that wants to go pushes back, pushes back, pushes back. But the other person has a particular friend that the one that's going to the strip club is not cool with. Well, why you have a problem with your partner hanging out with that friend? Well, because they're a bad influence. Like the friend can put a gun to your partner's head and make them do something they don't want to do. It doesn't work like that, particularly not in adulthood. Like, stop playing. Now we got that double standard again. So you have to be willing to get clear on what your goals and your feelings are, honestly. And I'm going to circle back to, don't do it if you can't handle it being done to you. Your relationship will blow up and go up in flames. But folk, stay rolling the dice. Okay. It's a different day. You better stop. You better stop. One of the ultimate questions that you have to ask yourself regarding this topic, and really, it's not just this topic, I think it's your relationship holistically, is what are your identified core needs in your relationship? What are your identified core needs, and what is your partner failing to do to meet those core needs? And are those unmet needs consciously or unconsciously fueling your decision to frequent the strip club, or to just any chance you get to go to the strip club even though it's not frequent? You have to ask yourself these questions. And this might shock you, but one of the things that has come out pretty frequently in the couples work that I've been doing all these years is that I'll ask a client, whether it be male or female, well, what do you need? And honest to God, they can't tell me. So if you can't tell me what you need, how on God's green earth can you expect your partner to know what you need? And you know it. You know what I'm about to say. You know what people say to me? They should know. Who mind readers? Where Miss Chloe? Any of my mind readers? Nobody is tapping it into your brain and just sucking all of your knowledge out and ding, 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 ding. I have all the answers to all of the things. No. Use your words. Use your words and communicate what your needs are. And if you don't know what they are, stop holding your partner accountable for knowing something that you don't even know. How crazy does that sound? You are doing yourself and your relationship a disservice if you cannot clarify what your needs are and then be able to clarify what your partner needs to do to meet those needs. But you mad because they're going to the strip club. Come on, man. Come on. At some point in time, you have to put the double standards to rest because they're going to keep your relationship all broke up and crazy. Excuse me. You have to. You have to be willing to clarify your needs. You have to be willing to clarify your expectations. You have to be willing to clarify your boundaries. You have to be willing to cope with your junk. Yes, your junk, your stuff. What baggage might you, I'm not saying this is applicable to everybody, but what baggage are you carrying that could be fueling this intense emotional reaction that you're having to your partner going to the strip club without you? And let me just say, beware if you say, well, you know what, babe, I'm going to go with you. And they're like, no. You might want to pay attention to that. Because if yes, it's your space and you need your me time and all of that. I get that part. But again, your relationship is supposed to be a priority too, just like your self-care is. And it shouldn't be your self-care or your relationship. It should be your self-care and your relationship. So a big part of your relationship success is going to be for you to be able to strike that balance between your self-care, i.e. your recreational outlets and the things that you like to do. And if you find yourself engaging in these recreational outlets that are detrimental to your relationship, you have a problem. And that needs to be sorted out. It needs to be sorted out. How can you sort it out? I'm so glad you asked. You have to be honest. And I said it in the beginning. Say it again. You have to be honest about why you're feeling what you're feeling. You have to be willing to own your junk, to not blame or scapegoat or project all of your baggage onto your partner. You have to be willing to identify, particularly for those of you that are having relationship problems and your partner is escaping to the strip club to get away from you and the problems. You have to start asking yourself, what do I need to change? What do I need to change? Because the only person you have control of is yourself. What do I need to change to address my contribution to my partner making this decision to spend so much time in the presence of other men or other women that clearly is a sexually charged environment? You have to be willing to be honest about how you're interpreting your partner's willingness to spend so much time at the strip club. What do I mean by that? A lot of times we make things bigger than they really are, meaning that it genuinely and sincerely could be completely innocent on your partner's part, that that's just a recreational outlet that they like. But because you're so jealous, because you're so insecure, because you feel so inadequate, because you feel so invisible in the relationship, rather than addressing all of those issues that are your issues at the root to address, you project all of that stuff onto your partner. And that's dangerous, because what's going to happen is, regardless of what your relationship status is with the person, whether you're dating, living together, engaged, married, whatever the case may be, that gets old. It gets old after a while, and you're going to find yourself in a place and space where the very person that you're afraid of losing, you end up pushing them away. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that reinforces the negative opinion that you have of yourself. So you have to ask yourself, am I in catastrophe mode? Am I without legitimate proof, without the facts to support this idea that I have in my head that if my partner goes to the strip club, he or she is going to cheat on me. He or she is going to leave me. He or she is going to, fall in love with that person and fall out of love with me. You have to be clear on why the strip club is posing such a tremendous threat to you in your relationship. Are you just assuming that it's a threat, or do you have concrete evidence to support your concern? Because if you have concrete evidence to support your concern, then we circle back to boundaries, expectations, goals, and all of that. Because I've got reason to believe that the strip club and the people that are in it are a threat to the relationship. So you've got to be willing to be completely transparent with yourself and your partner to get this issue addressed. And it's like I said in the very beginning, at the root of all of this, if it's a trust issue, then address that. When you are more deliberate and intentional in addressing the root cause of your relationship problems, you stand a better chance of having a healthy, fulfilling, sustainable relationship. But if you keep attacking the surface stuff, if you keep putting a band-aid on a bullet hole without unpacking and getting down into the blood, guts, and gore of the root problems within your relationship, then it will appear that, oh, well, we have relationship problems because he or she won't stay out the strip club, because, he or she is making it rain, because he or she is always, spending hundreds or thousands of dollars at the strip club every weekend or every other weekend or whatever it is. You got to be real with you about what the root issues are in your relationship. And let's work on getting those repaired. July 22nd and 23rd is my couples virtual lunch break boot camp. The information for the boot camp, it's all over social media, but you can go to drpittsrelationshipfix.com and you can register there and get some additional information. It's going to be a powerful 2 days during your lunch break. The reality of it is, I hear it all day, every day. Relationships are crashing and burning, and people don't know how to get out of their own way. They don't know how to heal their relationships. They don't know how to heal themselves. And because you don't know how to heal yourself, your relationship is jacked up. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to get your relationship back on track? Isn't it time to get your love life back on track? Isn't it time to get greater clarity on what the root issues are that have been just disintegrating your relationship? Come check me out for the couples boot camp. You will not be disappointed. Well, look, folks, I'm not eating any barbecue, but I'm done talking with you for tonight. So I hope you have a safe and enjoyable rest of your holiday evening. Enjoy some fireworks, eat some more ribs, tater salad, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you back next Thursday for Dr. Pitt's Tips Live. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.